Hey guys, and welcome to my Thursday night football, which is the launch of week 4. And we have Giants hosting the Cowboys. An NFC divisional showdown, hopefully. I think after seeing the two Monday night games go the way they did, or even though the Commanders let up a good amount of points to the Bengals, I honestly think that they had the game well in hand because of how unstoppable they were on offense. And then also looking at, obviously the Bills game, what a blowout and what a thrashing they handed to the Jaguars. The Jaguars had an identity check type of game, this last week. So, man, the last primetime game that we get to see this week, hopefully it's a good one. I have no idea what's going to happen in this game. This game, I feel like, is crazy hard to predict. Are we going to see the Cowboys rebound because they usually bully the Giants? Are we going to see a Cowboys team where, oh yeah, we're a soft football team? And I honestly think that this Giants defense is a lot better than anybody is saying. Obviously with pieces added, obviously with Dable being, a good, defensive mind, and overall, I think that this Giants team realizes that they're in a division that is potentially up to grabs. There is nobody who's really outright played super dominantly against what playoff teams are. You could maybe say Washington, since they're winning the division right now. But then you could also maybe say the Eagles, because talent-wise, these guys look good, and they've had injuries. And if the guys get back, then they could be really good. But no team has really separated themselves as a potential, leader in the division, in my opinion. Obviously, you have the Cowboys here that, the narrative around their season is that, hey, they claim they were all in. They signed Lamb and Prescott with a bunch of money, making Prescott the highest paid ever, making CD the second highest paid wide receiver. And then it's you got to think about, who else are they going to be able to keep in the coming years with this crazy amount of money? Maybe it won't be as bad as I think, but the Cowboys, I feel are on a sinking ship. I think it's going to be a problem for them with the culture they have and the players they have. How are they going to bring in guys that are going to help the team? They're going to have to do it solely through the draft. And it's just baffling to me, same team. They do have some new pieces. Their O-line still looks good, even though they let the guy who went to the Jets go, and they obviously let him go because they couldn't afford him. And I mean, but overall, they look like they still have a good offensive line that at least protects Dak for a good amount of time. But then you also have Dak just not playing very good, taking some sacks sometimes where I'm you're holding on to the ball too long. No running game to speak of course. It's you have Rico Dowdle as your leading rusher with through 3 games, he has 88 yards. And then you have Ezekiel Elliott backing him up. And he's not the same guy he was. Otherwise, I don't think they'd be starting Rico. Lamb kind of having a down year. Overall, I think that this game, it's just kind of wild to me that I guess they do give the Cowboys a 5.5 point advantage. They did show signs of life trying to come back. The thing that I'll say about their team is that their kicker is crazy. I don't know what that kid took or how his leg is so much stronger than everyone else. Clearly, he's like an outlier in terms of kickers, but like their kicker, I'll give props to. That guy can boom it. But yeah, it's kind of wild. Lamb signs this extension, and through 3 games, I mean, 200 yards, not bad, but only 1 touchdown. And then you look at some of these other guys, the tight end, Jake Ferguson, not really doing much, was a little injured. Brandon Cooks, who did find the end zone a good amount last year, I feel like, and was a threat there, not doing much. And then, I mean, Jalen Tolbert, I don't know what to say. DeMarcus Lawrence with his shoulder injury, he's questionable, he'll play. But then you also have Micah Parsons and, newly signed Eric Kendricks to try and help bolster that middle linebacker room, but they're still really bad against the run. Even though Eric Kendricks has always been a very sure-handed tackler and tenacious player, maybe he's just getting a little bit older to where he can't perform as well, but like a lot of unknowns on this defense. I don't like it. And I'll say this, the Giants, they have a balanced offense. They pass it quite a bit, but they also run it quite a bit. Singletary with over 200 yards in 3 weeks, he's doing solid. He's kind of what I would expect. He can be a workhorse back. He's not going to be anything crazy spectacular, but the guy can run the football. Daniel Jones, I'm glad he's not hurt, to be honest with you, and he's not playing like complete garbage, even though I know that a lot of the Giants fans just want him out of there. I think that this is kind of a make or break season for him. Obviously, if they get a really high draft pick, I think he's gone. I think that, I don't think the roster of next year is on the team if they decide to part ways with him and swallow the pill. And overall, this is a team where it's like not a lot of like huge salary cap hits on this team besides Daniel Jones, Dexter Lawrence, Brian Burns, Kayvon Thibodeau eventually, but they haven't had to extend him. Some of these other guys, I do think that their cornerback room is, performing pretty well. Being that they are so young, I think that overall this defense, I think that they went out and they got Brian Burns, and it's like they already having Dexter Lawrence and Kayvon Thibodeau. I think that you look at these guys, and I think that they were bolstering to try and teach and train these young corners with a very solid pass rush, because we all know Dexter Lawrence, Sexy Dexy, he's notorious for at least applying pressure at a very high rate as a nose tackle in the league. And, looking at Kayvon Thibodeau, I think that he's just got the length, the speed, and he's just overall like a huge physical guy that it's like hard to block. And then of course Brian Burns, we all know, we all wanted him off of the Panthers because he deserves a shot on a real team. And I mean, he didn't really get that, I guess, because he went to the Giants, but still a guy that I can see being good in this league for a while. And it's like, I think that this defense is performing pretty well and they're doing good things. And it's like they went out and they addressed like the safety position after losing Xavier McKinney. I think Tyler Nubin is going to develop into a good safety. And it's just looking at this team, they're not really a win now team. I mean, you have Malik Neighbors who's balling. I think that he definitely is going to be a good wide receiver for a while. Really emerged last week. Wan'Dale Robinson, I think you just need to learn how to use him as like a gadget player. Darius Slayton, I think, shouldn't be your third wide receiver. I'd like to see Jalen Hyatt take that step up. Showed flashes in his last year, but hasn't really done much, I guess. And who knows if it's the scheme, if it's the quarterback, or whatever else. But clearly Malik Neighbors, I think, is going to be good. And as of right now, it's him, Harrison, and then Jaden Daniels, who are my favorites for offensive rookie of the year. But obviously with Daniels in the lead, just because he's a quarterback, and he just played a spectacular game last night. But looking at these guys, I think that their O-line, it's kind of, it's performing better than last year for sure. And that's a good thing. They benched Evan Neal, they drafted another guy, Jermaine Illuminor. And, I think that, and then they addressed, I guess, guard in the offseason with John Runyon, who's a former Packer, so I know him well. I think they overpaid for him, to be honest with you. Not that it's a huge cap hit, but for a guard it is. Greg Van Roden, I think, is a solid piece in there. And, overall, I think that they're running the ball well and they're protecting Daniel Jones a little bit better, because like last year, I don't think that their run game really wasn't that good with Saquon. And who knows? I mean, teams were just teeing off it because they literally couldn't pass protect. So these teams just played the run all the time last year because they had, a well-known and talented back in Saquon. But given that I'm looking at these teams and I'm thinking, like, who knows? I hate to say it, but I do give the Cowboys this game just because they have, too much talent. And I feel like they've just been bullying, the Giants for years now, where it's like the Giants, are the worst team in that division, especially this year. Like I think that last year, you had some pieces and you had some things going well for Washington, even though it really wasn't going that well, obviously. But like the Giants, I mean, they had more talent last year, but they just ultimately played so bad as a unit that it was like it was nuts. I don't understand it, type of thing. Like, I mean, the Giants had a better record than Washington, but I feel like Washington, with like the transition from guys that they had and the coaching and that sort of thing, like, I don't know, record wise they were worse, but I feel like they competed a lot better. They weren't as much of a like slap around team like the Giants. And clearly the Giants are the weakest in the division this year. There's no doubt about it. They just really, I mean, they did off-season moves to make this team better, but it's, still a rebuilding time. So with this game, my score prediction, I think that they can get after Dak. I think they will get after Dak because they don't have a rushing game. They don't have a running game on the Cowboys. And even though I think that Dak gets good protection, pretty good protection, it's like he's less and less mobile, each year. He doesn't look like he's able to run it even as well as last year. And I mean, maybe, and that sort of thing, but I'm giving it to the Cowboys just because I feel like they're going to be playing mad. And I mean, the Giants, the Giants, oddly enough, they're coming off, a win against Cleveland, but Cleveland sucks as far as I'm concerned. And, you'd happen to have a good game with Daniel Jones, but but then you had the Cowboys who it's like they really ignited and came alive at the end of the last game, at least offensively, and I mean, I guess they did defensively as well, which is kind of shocking considering that their weakness is what the Ravens do, but they had their back up against the wall and obviously that sort of thing. But you look at when they played Cleveland too, and they absolutely schooled Cleveland, and the Giants, I mean, they barely held on in that game. But, the score, I'm going to go Cowboys, and I think that they score like 24, and I think that the Giants, I'm going to say they score 13. I think that, the over-under for this game is like, it's, let me see, 42 or 45 and a half. More likely to be under 45.5 points. I don't think it's going to be as high a scoring game as they say. I just don't trust Daniel Jones either. I think he's due to have an off game. Obviously, last game, Malik Neighbors, made him look good. But yeah, that's my prediction is 24-13. Dallas by 11. If I was feeling generous, I would say, maybe the Giants get 2 touchdowns and a couple field goals, and then it's 24-20. But I just don't see them scoring. I just do not see them scoring that, to be honest with you. I think that they're going to go out and, I think that they're going to ball out, and that Zimmer, the defensive coach, is going to be able to exploit Daniel Jones because he's always done really well against, mediocre or below mediocre quarterbacks, with his scheme. And I think that he's definitely one of those guys that he's kind of embarrassed, and he's going to coach these guys up in a short week, and they're going to play with fire, against a division rival, even though it's at the Giants Stadium. So if you have any opinions or if you have any comments on what I've said, then please feel free to leave those in the comments. But this is Cast, and this is my prediction for Thursday Night Football. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you next time.